Hey guys, Gio here. I just thought I'd do a quick tutorial on how I make bread. You're going to need some dry active yeast, or if you got it, some sourdough starter. You're going to need 2 cups of warm water, not over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 1/3 cup of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of salt. You're going to need 5 to 6 cups of bread flour. Bread flour is best. Some fashionable glasses, and most importantly, comfy jammy pants. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to grab your yeast packets and spend a couple minutes reading the instructions. And somewhere after these 2 minutes have transpired, you'll realize you've wasted 2 minutes of your life because there are no instructions on a dry yeast package. Once you've figured this out, you're going to move on to the first step of making bread. The first thing you're going to do if you have a yeast package is you're going to put it in your mixing bowl. Then you're going to take your 2 cups of warm water, add that to the mixing bowl, followed by your 1/3 cup of sugar. Add that in there, whisk it together, and let it sit for a few minutes. It should start bubbling if the yeast is good. And then you'll move on to your next step. For sourdough starter, it's basically the same thing, except you're going to use about a 1/2 cup to a cup of your starter. You're going to throw it in your mixing bowl, then add your water and your sugar just like you did with the dry yeast starter. Now you're going to add your 4 cups of flour to your 2 cups of water, 1/3 cup of sugar, and your yeast or sourdough starter. Finally, add your tablespoon of salt. Don't forget the salt. Let this combination of ingredients mix together using the bread crook if you have one on your mixer. Otherwise you can knead it all together by hand, which works too, but is a little more time consuming. This mixture will go for about 5 to 10 minutes. While that's going on, you're going to want to take your 9-inch bread pans and some parchment paper. Line the bread pans with parchment paper and then just set them aside. Now take 1 cup of bread flour and place it on your counter or your bread sheet. And then you're going to take your knife or a spatula, whatever you have, and you're going to spread it out in a thin layer about 16 inches in diameter. Then grab your dough and your spatula, and it's kind of like a batter still at this point, so you're going to start you're going to put it in this ring of flour, and you're going to begin to knead it together using your knife and some moistened fingertips. So you're going to knead the bread until it begins to really stick together. And this may take a good 5 or 6 minutes. Once you see that you've got a pretty good loaf of bread, divide it in 2 pieces, equal, and place it in your bread pan. Alright, now you're going to want to take your bread in the bread pans, put inside of a plastic bag. I'm using bread bags here, but if you don't have those, any plastic sack will work just fine. And the idea here is to keep the bread from drying out on the counter as it begins to rise. Now wait. Should take 3 to 4 hours for your bread to rise properly, depending on the yeast strength. I've waited up to 6 hours with my sourdough on occasion just to get it to rise. Okay, now you want to take a cookie sheet, put it in the oven, and fill it with water. After that, set your temperature for 450 degrees to preheat the oven. Now your bread should have risen after 4 hours. Take a sharp knife and slice some relief cuts in the top of the bread. And what this will do is going to allow the bread to expand and rise in the oven. When you're done, the top of your bread should look something like this. Now, place your bread loaves into your oven and set your timer. Alexa, set a 40-minute timer.
Second timer, 40 minutes, starting now.
And patiently wait for your bread. Alexa, how much time do I have left on my timer?
You have 29 minutes left on your 40-minute timer.
Alexa, how much more time do I have?
You have 6 minutes and 10 seconds left on your 40-minute timer.
Alexa, cancel timer. Now remove the bread from the oven and allow it to cool on the counter, understanding that the bread is continuing to cook on the inside as it cools. Don't be too quick to cut into the bread because it will be doughy. After bread is cooled, go ahead and grab a slice of butter and enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that this was helpful to you. This is how I've been making bread for the last few months. See you later.